Today's lesson is nets. And our goal is I can draw a net given a rectangular or triangular prism. Or make sure you have your net Unit 7 notes next to you. Let's start with vocab. This might be a repeat from your elementary days, and that is A-okay. A net is a 2D drawing of a 3D shape. Go ahead and fill in the parts that you need to. Rectangular prisms are going to have 6 faces. Triangular prisms are going to have 5 faces. So that's important to remember as you're drawing these nets to make sure you don't forget a face. You can remember that rectangular has 6, triangular has 5. Look at my 2 net pictures below. One net is where you have every face connected. It's my digital one here where you can see it unfolding. And my other net is for a triangular prism, and you can see that all the faces are not connected. They're individually pulled off. Both of these are 2D drawings of 3D shapes. This type of net where I'm looking at the individual faces is going to be the one that I'm going to model to you. I find it the most helpful to be able to write the dimensions for each face when I draw a net where each face is separated. Let me clarify dimensions. So looking at this rectangular face right here, my base length is 12 feet of that face and my height length is 5 feet of that face. When you draw your nets today, 6th graders, you need to make sure that you identify the dimensions for each face, because this was really important information to have when we had to calculate area of our quadrilaterals and triangles. So that's the direction that we're moving in. We got to make sure that we have those dimensions for each face. Go ahead and go to chunk 2 in your notes. We're going to create an edge for each prism, and we need to include dimensions. So here's our first prism. How would you name this prism? Look at the shape of its bases. This is a square prism. So I'm going to start by pulling off my bases, my top and my bottom. My top, now here's that face, but I also need to label the dimensions. So what is the length of this base segment on my square? 4 centimeters. What is the length of this height segment on my square? Well, it's a square, Miss Kluver, so 4 centimeters. You got it. We could put 4 over here and 4 over here as well. But we have our base segment length and our height segment length. My bottom is going to have the exact same dimensions. Now, since this is a square prism, the remaining 4 faces, 6th graders, are actually all identical. And you're going to see that I have 3 columns here. So yes, I realize that my remaining 4 faces are going to be identical, but that doesn't always happen with prisms. So I'm just modeling how I set it up for all prisms. Let's go ahead and let's look at the sides. I highlighted them in green there. Pulling off one of the sides, what is the length of this base segment? Because right now I need to also label the dimensions. 4 centimeters. What is the length of this height segment? 6 centimeters. Nice. My other side is going to have the exact same dimensions. So what faces am I missing? The front and the back. I'm going to highlight those in blue. And now, if I look at my side face here, opposite sides of rectangles are congruent. So that means this length right here on my front face is 6 centimeters as well. So if I pull off the front, I have my base segment that's going to be 4 centimeters and my height segment that's going to be 6 centimeters in length. And the back face is the same. And you can see that these 4 faces here all have the same dimensions, and that's because this is a square prism. That doesn't happen with other rectangular prisms. There are 2 more examples in your notes. What I want you to do at this time is pause the video, draw a net, label each face of the net with the appropriate dimensions for both of those examples in your notes. Come back and check your answers with mine. So here's the rectangular prism net. And remember, I said when I draw my nets, I separate each face. This is still a 2D drawing of a 3D shape. My bases are rectangles, so you should have 2 faces that have the dimensions 5 centimeters by 6 centimeters. My top and my bottoms are going to have the dimensions 5 centimeters by 11 centimeters. And my 2 sides, or maybe you said the front and the back, are going to have 6 centimeters by 11 centimeters. And you can see that I have 6 faces. This is a rectangular prism, so that's what I should have. Going to the triangular prism, let's see how you did with that one. Triangular prisms are a little bit more challenging, I think, when it comes to the nets. So triangular prisms, we name them by the shape. We name all prisms by the shape of their bases. So I always start by pulling off the bases. And you can call it the front and the back. That doesn't matter. I just like identifying where I'm looking. So these are both right triangles. That's important because when we calculate the area of a triangle, that height has to be that perpendicular segment. So go ahead and check your net with mine and make sure that you have the correct dimensions on each face.